What if we could? An essay by Running Red. I have many friends with species dysphoria. It's like gender dysphoria, but the stress and anxiety are from being born in a human body, living in a human society, instead of as the animal they feel they truly are inside. Many Therians and furries, myself most of all, would love the ability to shapeshift into an animal form. Heck, most people would love to have this power. One thing I hear a lot from those with species dysphoria is if they could turn into an animal, they'd leave the human world and never return. All well and good. Everyone has dreams and desires to escape the pain and problems of their lives for something better, but it got me thinking of the collateral effects of such a desire. That is, what if we could? What if we could transform into an animal and say, fuck you, to our human lives? A little thought experiment. Let us say, through means of science or magic or whatever, I had the ability to turn you into an animal. To avoid tangential issues, we'll say it'll be an animal that does, or did, live on this planet. Wolf? Sure. Saber-toothed tiger? I guess. Fire-breathing dragon? Unicorn? We'll leave those for a future thought experiment. Tell me the specific subspecies, gender, coloring, whatever. Give me your ref sheet, and you will become that animal. You will retain your consciousness. You won't be a dumb animal. You'll retain your sense of identity in your new form. I'll even give you perfect health at a minimum of a humanish lifespan. However old you were or ailment you had as a human, you get a fresh start and a couple of decades to enjoy it. Of course, you would have the limitations of your species. You're now a gray wolf. Enjoy the heightened sense of hearing and smell. Say goodbye to telling red from green or enjoying chocolate brownies. A lot of what may happen would depend on whether my ability is public knowledge or not. In other news, a local man turns Ted Cruz into a small female lizard. Up next, sports. If it is public knowledge, this would be similar to moving to another country. Settle your debts, disperse your assets, quit your job, and tell your family they won't see you again and why. I would have legal forms for you to sign confirming you're doing this of your own free will. Maybe a small farewell party before you're transformed. If it isn't public knowledge, you would need to come up with a plausible reason why you're about to vanish. However much being a human sucks, it would be cruel to vanish without a word, leaving friends and family wondering if you're alive or dead. You're going to live off the grid in the wilderness. You're enlisting in the French Foreign Legion. You're joining a monastery or convent, or fake your own death. Pick something, anything. And whatever method you choose, if you don't clean up your affairs, your survivors will have to do it for you. Be kind to those you leave behind. And then there's travel. Where are you going to spend the rest of your life as an animal? I live in New England. If you want to be a squirrel or a fox, you'd probably like it here. Tiger, dolphin, kangaroo, not so much. Even if you're a wolf, you'd prefer Montana or Alberta, Canada. But do you know how to get there? However you plan to live your human life, the next step is how to get you and me as close to where on earth you want to spend the rest of your life. Preferably with you covering travel expenses. And if my ability to transform people isn't public knowledge, I don't need investigators asking why I keep taking trips with people shortly before they vanish, so there can't be any paper trail connecting us. Let's say we got all that figured out. For either my ability being public knowledge or secret, you quit your job, sold your possessions, canceled your streaming services, and said goodbye to your friends and family. You and I enjoy a nice drive to Alberta. I transform you into a wolf, and you bound off to frolic in the woods, full of species euphoria. Do you know how to live as a wolf? How to hunt for prey as a solitary animal with no pack? Do you know what berries or grasses are safe to eat? Do you know which large animals you can coexist with and which ones to avoid because they'll see you as a threat or food? Or if you meet other wolves, how to read their body language and know if they're going to tolerate you or drive you off? Do you know how to prepare for winter? Do you know how to live as your animal, be it wolf or deer, coyote or hawk? Animals learn from their parents and most live in groups, but you're coming in as a solitary adult. Same as if you were dropped off in a foreign country where you only have a vague idea of how the language and the customs work. Let's say you got that covered. You've studied the behavior and biology of your animal. You know what it's safe to eat and what's dangerous, how to read and mimic body language. You've researched the area you want to live. You know what the weather and seasons will be like in your new home and what flora and fauna to expect when you get there. You've taken wilderness and survival training. You are prepared to live as one in the natural world without any human tools, equipment, or opposable thumbs. Well, unless you're going to live as a lemur or a panda. You can still hurt your leg or break a tooth. Many of the animals we desire to be are also ones at risk from poachers or sportsmen. I do not use the term hunter for those who tramp through the woods just to slaughter an animal to put its head on a wall. You're going to get fleas and ticks and internal parasites. And you always have to be on guard against another animal that wants to fight or eat you. Nature's tough. It's worth it though, because you're finally at a body that feels right. How do you know you won't ever want to come back? Sure, you're living your best life, but maybe sometimes you missed a few things about civilization. You wouldn't mind spending a day as a human again? Take a hot shower? Use soft toilet paper. Eat a pizza. Hit up a PetSmart for some flea collars and deworming pills. Or even share your experiences with the therians and furries you left behind. Or hypothetically, you've come across poachers or illegal dumping or some problem you want the human world to know. How do you contact me? Well, sure, if you're hanging out in New England as a fox or chipmunk, you come by my house, scratch at the door. But what if you're on another continent? You're probably somewhere with no cell phone and no cell service. And what if you change your mind? What if becoming an animal didn't resolve all your problems? Or being an animal made them worse? Or you've learned to appreciate your human side, and like Persephone, you want to spend part of your life in the woods, part of your life in a house. Not everyone with gender dysphoria picks the other side. Some identify as non-binary and choose elements from both. So let's suppose you were able to get in touch with me, and I turn you back into a human. Can you resume your former life? Depending on what excuse you used when you left, you either need to make up some stories about what life was like in a cabin, the monastery, or the Foreign Legion, or a plausible reason why you're alive when everyone, including the police, thinks you're dead. Apart from that, you have no assets, and your resume has a pretty big gap in it. Even if you're certain you'll spend the rest of your life as an animal, it'd be wise to plan a return just in case. And that's it for the thought exercise. I'm sure many of you have your hand raised for solutions to these problems or other additional problems I didn't think of. This isn't meant to be an exhaustive list or dissuade anyone from this dream. If I had this ability, I'd definitely spend my weekends running around the woods as a wolf. It's simply intended to remind my friends they'd be missed and to consider the side effects, if we could.